This is Jonathan Ferguson, the Keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. And on this week's episode, Jonathan is taking a look at some of the weapons found in the multiplayer of 2022's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
So far, I haven't had to reach for the emotional support Sturmgewehr. So it's on the edge of curse, this thing, and is making me twitch slightly.
Make sure to subscribe, as we'll have another episode that dives into more of the Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer weapons. And if you'd like to help at the Royal Armouries Museum and continue to support Jonathan's work, check out the links in the description of this video. Right, let's take a look at the multiplayer weapons of Modern Warfare 2.
The AKS-74U. It has a sight rail on the left-hand side. I believe that is found on some AKS-74Us. None of ours have it though. Other than that, this is pretty good. I mean, there are a few little details I could criticize, but unlike some guns in this game, this is a pretty faithful replication. Handling of it looks realistic and good, as we would expect in 2022 from a Call of Duty game. Intriguing reload here that I've not seen. Well, I've probably seen it before somewhere. I gather this is based on something that people do in the real world. So what's happening there, if like me, you missed it the first time, is that the firing hand moves to the cocking handle with the butt in the shoulder, pulls that to the rear, so that the gun is empty at this point, by the way, and then rather awkwardly suspending it from your shoulder, you remove the empty magazine, fit a fresh magazine, and let the cocking handle fly forward, chambering the first round, because otherwise you have to fit the magazine and separately cock the weapon. Now, considering how quickly you can train to do that, I don't really see the benefit. In fact, there are a lot of downsides. What is cool though, is that is a bit of variety based on something real that has been incorporated into the game. And it's visually striking. It implies extra knowledge or expertise about how to use a gun. So I'm all for that kind of thing. Well, this is a little horrifying, seeing an abbreviated bolt-action rifle without a scope, but with a light laser module being used as a sort of CQB weapon. Very funky chassis, well, yeah, I guess it is a chassis type stock. No butt stock, I don't think. Very short barrel, lots of rails, but not really being utilised. Yeah, it's not kind of in your face, but it's a little bit horrific. Now, I actually had to check this, but I gather the barreled action is supposed to be the M24, the US military sniper rifle, which was in the previous game. And this is a custom stock for it, which is more reminiscent of something like the M14 Sage stock or something. I don't know if this is available for the M24. I'd be surprised. All I've ever seen has been a fairly conventional, if polymer, stock. I'm sure the sniper weapon system is more modular and advanced than that, but I don't think it's quite so, what's the word, raily as this one. All right, this is an unusual one. Another one we haven't got in the collection, may never get, because it's very, very niche. This is an AR-57, which is its real world name, in concept only. The receiver set on this looks nothing like the AR-57s I've seen, and the lower receiver appears to be the stock M4 one from Modern Warfare 2. What's really interesting is the magazine lying across the top of the handguard, sort of. So this is, as the name would imply, AR, on the light rifle, 5.7, and that's a reference to the round, so 5.7 by 28. And this is, as the name would imply again, the same round as the FN57 pistol fires, the P90, and not a whole lot else. And that's what this is. This is an attempt by an AR pattern rifle manufacturer to create an upper receiver assembly, and I think a complete rifle as well, that allows you to use the AR-15 pattern system with the 5.7 round. So now we see the magazine change happen on this, basically the same as the real AR-57, except that the catch, I think, is a rocker type catch on the real gun, On this, it's a push-in. I think you could make it work with either. On the P90, you have a catch that wraps around the magazine essentially, and so you go overhand, push back. This is awkward. This looks awkward to reload. I think your mileage is going to vary on that one. Not tremendously common in the world of video gaming, the belt-fed AR. I'm not sure exactly which model this is based on, but the Ares Shrike, I think, was the original modern take on this. So this is where you replace your upper receiver with, well, as you see there, a flip-up top cover, feed tray, and an open bolt system. So it's an approximation of that. And what I think both of the major variants around now do is use the magazine well of the rifle to latch in a feed box. Not a magazine, but a box to contain the belted rounds, which is a clever way to repurpose a feature that would otherwise be completely pointless in a now belt-fed gun, because there's nothing for the magazine well to do. So there's not a great deal I can show you on this, except for its great granddaddy, the AR-10 support weapon, with, sure enough, a belt-fed receiver. Now this system, and there are others, Colt came up with a version. This system is not drop in, drop out upper receiver. It is in fact both upper and low receivers modified. I do enjoy the cartridge ejection thing there. I'm not actually sure, I'm not familiar enough with Marlin rifles. I believe it's in Marlin 95. The popping out the cartridge, catching it and inspecting it, whether that's easy to do or not, Marlin owners, please let me know, but it certainly does look pretty slick. So far, I haven't had to reach for the emotional support Sturmgewehr. I'm hopeful I can make it through this whole thing without needing to. This is getting a little close though, starting with that absurd muzzle brake on the front of the rifle. Lever actions really should be left plain in my view, but that's by the by. The rail system, I suppose, is tolerable. The huge scope, I'm not even sure, like a 20 magnification or something, is excessive, and then should be basically negated by the ridiculous cut-off pistol grip style. Well, it's just a grip, it's not a stock. So it's on the edge of curse, this thing, and is making me twitch slightly. Oh, I see. So that muzzle brake is meant to be from a .338 caliber rifle. Well, that makes sense. Would that help with 45-70, which it correctly says, based on the shape of the ejection port on it? That seems to be correct. I guess it would help, but it would add excessive weight relative to, yeah, you don't typically see rifles of this type with a great big DMR type .338 muzzle brake on it. Yeah, I think I can just about live with this. I don't know, the grip underneath is a little distasteful. Right, at long last, we actually have, as part of the collection here, a Benelli M4 Super 90. And there was much rejoicing because this thing is something of a benchmark for modern tactical shotguns. So, which does mean I can compare it to the one in the game. And again, it seems to be different. The shape of the ejection port is way more, well, not way more, significantly more squared off on the game gun. And what I would normally say is a nice touch of light being visible through the cocking slot at the rear here, because when you're reloading it, you're seeing through to the bottom of the gun, which is open to the daylight, so you'd see light coming up. Well, we wouldn't on this because the receiver is machined metal. It's very thick in this area. So it's a very minor detail, but at the same time, it makes it not feel like the M4. We'll just point out, suppressors on shotguns are not common, but they are a thing. Might even make a bit of a comeback and become maybe not standard, but a bit more common than they are. As with anything sort of large bore and loud, you're not going to get the same level of sound suppression as you would with a pistol, say, but it is surprisingly effective from what I understand. So it's not as wacky as it might look to see a big old square modern suppressor on the end of this thing. Well, that's interesting. Someone built this for me? It's got a skull on it. Now, this is partly in honor of Ghost, but from Call of Duty. But I do like skulls. It's mostly black, but has red on it, and it's an AR rifle. These are some of my favourite things. This is almost like the opposite of cursed. It's absolutely not what you do with any kind of fighting rifle. But if I was to customize a gun in a game, rather than slavishly sticking with something stock or realistic, as I tend to do, I'd probably make this. One of my favourite firearms of all time, as some of you know, the MP5, except it's not. Now, as the gun itself, I've grabbed something pretty similar here, MP5A3, and it happens to be in the same configuration, except for the lack of rails on the forend, as the, I won't call it an abomination, because it's not completely cursed, but for an MP5 fan like me, it's pretty far removed. Biggest issue for me would be the magazine well area is far too wide. In reality, it's as wide as it needs to be to fit this magazine. Going along with that is the horrific, I don't know what to compare it to, but a gigantic magazine catch, which sits here, which is where the real sort of secondary magazine catch sits on the MP5 that nobody uses unless they have a US semi-automatic only version like an HK94 where that's your only magazine catch. Actual users of this thing use the paddle magazine release, which is not on this gun. So pretty disappointed with the MP5 in Modern Warfare 2 2022. Okay, so watching this thing in action, we see that the cocking handle is not the HK shape. It's not even the G3 shape with the longer leverage, which this doesn't need for anyway. It's not that. It's just a rod. I mean, you could replace the cocking handle with a cylindrical rod like that, but why would you? And it does make it look pretty weird. So we see a version of the reload there, where we get a fresh magazine inserted. We slap the cocking handle to chamber the round. That's how you're supposed to use it. We then see a press check of the chamber. That's what you definitely don't want to do with an HK roller locked system. You don't have a means of forward assisting that to make sure it's now fully shut. Your rollers might be ever so slightly out of engagement, which means the gun's not going to fire. So you do not want to be doing a press check on this system. Good grief, that's one of the more energetic revolver spins that I've seen in some time. And looking at these things, they're pretty elaborate. We've got some sort of a clamp-on compensator on the front, so a laser aiming module clipped around the trigger guards. That's a real technology that has existed for a while now. Yeah, they're looking a bit sci-fi, these things. The base gun is very close to the Smith & Wesson Model 500, which I very much like to have in the collection, we don't have yet. The barrels, though, are really very different. I'm not sure if those are, I don't think those are based on anything real. Certainly nothing from the Smith & Wesson 500 range. Okay, not only are the guns, I think, customized, I don't think these are stock, they are firing shot, and really powerful shot. We have just completely destroyed panel van in a few shots. Where to start? Well, shot, snake shot is a thing. Called snake shot because it's for defending yourself from venomous snakes. Increases the chance of you hitting them. The recoil from these rounds is excessive, I would suggest, but hey, maybe, I guess with the case capacity of 500 Magnum, these are sort of full house loads that have the same mass as a bullet, but in shot form, if that makes sense to you. Yeah, so highly unrealistic. We have a decent effort at the reload animation here. We are releasing the cylinders one-handed and emptying the guns, still with them in your hands, but we do then have the off-screen cheat of somehow, maybe we have a pet monkey or something who is feeding rounds into the cylinders, and then you snap them shut, and there you are, reloaded. So it looks more plausible than some dual-wheeled reloads that I've seen, but it actually would be basically impossible to pull off without the trained monkey, of course. So a firearm that we would very much like to acquire here one day. This is actually the Gepard M6, also known as the Lynx. We have an M1. In fact, you can see that on display here at Leeds as part of our film and TV display, because that was actually loaned out and used in the TV series Spooks randomly before it was part of a museum collection. This is obviously semi-automatic. It's long recoil, so the barrel recoils significantly far back into the gun, and it has to recoil the full length of a cartridge to be able to extract and eject. Hence that long ka-chunk cycling, which is well done. It has that big magazine that rides up a rail to lock into place, a bit like the old Tommy gun magazine did. But pretty effective against people in the game, but surprisingly ineffective against the helicopters. Many shots going in there without seemingly troubling the helicopter over much. That's just, of course, because helicopters have to have a number of hit points to be any use at all in a video game, and so it always doesn't matter what you're using. It's never going to have that decisive clout that a real, well, even a bull 50 caliber round would actually have. If you put that into the engine of a helicopter, you would be putting it into instant difficulty. It doesn't just shrug it off until it's had 10 of them hit it and then it suddenly starts spewing smoke. That's just a limitation of a non-super realistic video game. All right, everyone, those were more guns from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. If you'd like to support what we do at the Royal Armouries, you can head over to our various social media outlets. You can check out the website for that. We also have our own YouTube channel featuring fairly prominently me, should that interest you at all, and more guns, importantly. Thanks again for watching, and you can join me in my promotional support MP5 next time.